Hello, everyone, mostly parents, and welcome. I am Erica Desper. We are the team at Confident Parenting. This is
I am Amelia.
I am Bernadette, and this is my cat, apparently.
Here we go. It's a family affair. We help
Yes.
families get more sleep and tackle potty training and so much more. And we're kicking off a new feature of Ask the Expert today. So we are going to be the experts today. We're obviously also parents and moms, so don't take the expert things too seriously. Take it with a grain of salt. We have had a bunch of questions come in, and today we're going to pick 3 of the potty training questions that we received and get you some answers. So first things first, a parent wants to know, how and when do we assess readiness for potty learning? Bernadette, what did you want to say about readiness first before we give some criteria?
Yes. So I don't love the word readiness. I like to think of it as capability more. Is my child capable of doing this? Can they communicate their needs? Pants up and down, pull their pants up and down, things that are required for potty training, right? There are other kind of, things that we look for as far as developmentally, like can they say their ABCs, is one example, and feel free to list another one that I'm not thinking of right now. But we think that, like, is my child capable of being able to communicate and, handle their own clothing, not perfectly, but well enough that they could get themselves, undressed and dressed, good enough with some support. So I like to think of it as capability, not so much readiness.
Yeah. And in our next question, we'll talk a little bit more about why we make that distinction, but it is an important one. The reciting ABCs or something like that, I like to think of it as like, can they remember? They're going to need to remember multi-step processes, multi-step instructions. So like, even if they can't recite their ABCs, can you say, go to the table and grab your cup and bring it to mommy? That's like, they have to do things like in a certain order and sort of process that. So that's kind of what we're looking for. You feel the feeling, you go to the place, you do the thing, and you rejoin your activity, right? That's kind of what the process is. So that's really what you're looking for. And the communication, I just wanted to emphasize, and Amelia, you have more experience with this because you do help kiddos with some special needs get through the process. How would you like to see them be able to communicate? Are we looking for words like I need to pee?
I was just thinking that. I think a lot of times parents, and I feel like I was guilty of this with my own child who had a speech delay, that I was like, well, if he can't verbally communicate this to me, what are we going to do? But in reality, your child is communicating needs to you from the moment they're here, right? They communicate with crying, with hunger cues. There's all kinds of ways that they're going to communicate. Those things are going to continue on. So even when we get to something where kiddos might have something more formal set up, it's not necessarily verbal communication. So all behavior is communication. All behavior is communication. So we might have kiddos who have something more formal set up. So I have kiddos who are using PEC systems, the picture exchange system, kiddos who might use their AAC device, kiddos who might be using sign language, other kids who might use those things, intermittently, or we might have a combination of those systems set up for them. We also have some kids who might just hand over hand and grab your hand and walk with you to the bathroom. So there's a whole lot of different ways that they're going to communicate their needs.
And I would add, of course, because we wear a sleep hat, it's hard to separate that from the potty hat. Are they well rested? This is a major milestone. If you are overtired, overworked, overstretched amongst your multiple kiddos, or if your child is overtired, not on the right schedule, they may not be ready, not because they can't do the things we just listed, but just because everything is bigger when you're tired. We know the Snickers commercial, you're not yourself when you're hungry. And I always say to parents, there's a sleep version of that, like you're not yourself when you're tired. And it is hard to get through this process if everybody's too tired. So if you need to address sleep first, that would certainly be our advice. Get that in a good place, enjoy it long enough that you all feel better, and then move on to potty training. I wanted to add, oftentimes, retreating to a private place to poop is listed as a sign of readiness. I wouldn't say that's like the main thing we're looking for, but that is, if you're seeing it along with some of these other things, I think that's a good sign. If parents really want to hear an age window, although it's really more about the things we just said than age, I would say between 20 and 30 months. We see our 2.5-year-olds do really well at just 2. And ahead of that, some kids are ready/capable. And of course, if you're hearing this and you're like, oh my gosh, my kid's 3.5 or 4 or whatever, it's not like we're talking about a window that will close and now they can't do it. We're more talking about capturing a time where it can maybe be easier, faster, smoother versus like a little more challenging. So don't get hung up on the age, look more for those signs of capability. If they also happen to be interested and excited, awesome. We're going to talk about that next. If they aren't, you're just focusing on, are they capable? So that is how and when we would assess for readiness, although we would suggest to think of it as a capability for potty learning. Our second question, is it normal for a kiddo to show those signs of readiness for potty learning and then regress or stop showing them? For example, this kiddo used to tell their parents they had pooped in their diaper and wanted a change. Now they don't tell them anymore. They used to sit on the play potty in their clothes and kind of pretend, and now they're not doing that. So Bernadette, let's kick it back to you because you made the distinction of ready versus capable. If a kiddo is pretending about the potty and saying they want a diaper change, why is that not necessarily what we're looking for? It can help, right? But if we're not seeing it, what is that? Does that mean anything?
It really doesn't. It's the child who was pretending, probably, are they capable? The child who isn't pretending anymore, are they capable, right? The answer is probably yes to both questions. Why the change? I mean, who knows? Kids are funny, right? And there could have been something they saw on TV or something that they were acting out, and now it's like kind of past, and they're just not bringing it up anymore. But the capability was probably there before, and it's still there after the behavior kind of changed. So I wouldn't think of it more as a regression. It's just it's not on the top of their list of things to be, acting out. But they're probably still capable to go through the potty learning process.
And I would add, we work with a lot of kids who, the reason we make that distinction is the parents that come to us have been waiting to see those interest signs. I'm excited. I want to pretend. I want to copy you. I want to do what my friends at school or my cousins are doing. Some kids will never show those signs that the gig they have is working for them. Mm-hmm. And like, that's it, right? They have no good reason to move on from that. So if you're waiting for something that your child is just never going to show, you could be waiting indefinitely, which is really why we say, let's think about capable versus ready, especially if we're defining ready as excited. Yeah, I guess that's what I would say. Amelia, do you have anything to add to that ready, capable regression window concept?
Yeah, I mean, I would go across with the same things that you guys said, that I am always looking for, do we feel like this child is capable of learning this skill? I often will talk to parents about, like, you as their caregiver, like, is your gut reaction that this kiddo is capable of learning this skill right now? I think you often, your kid best, and you probably have some idea of that. And the thing where, maybe we were seeing signs, especially things like pretending to use the potty or things like that, and then they stop showing them, especially kids that might be in a care setting. Maybe another kid was potty training and it was really at the forefront of everyone's mind, and now it's kind of drifted back. It doesn't, I wouldn't say that means anything in relation to whether or not that kid will be successful right now if we dive into the process.
Now, certainly, if all the stars align in your child's life and yours, and you see that excitement and interest, and you also see the capability, you will probably, if you can dive in right then, you'll probably have a fairly easy time. Like, that's a dream potty training scenario. But in reality, we have a lot of parents who are like, I'm seeing all that, but we just brought a newborn home and this isn't the right time for me to do this. Or I'm doing crazy shifts at work and I can't focus on this right now. Or we're moving houses or whatever. So again, we're answering the question because the question was asked. Certainly don't beat yourself up. In our experience, a smooth process is often more about parents being in the right space than it is about the kiddo. I mean, it is definitely both. So I would wrap up the readiness capability conversation with, like, are you ready as the parent? Once you've decided your child is capable, look at your life and what you have going on, travel, guests, holidays, new siblings, all that stuff. Try to find a block of time that's pretty chill where everyone's rested and you can really focus on this because you do feel like you're potty training yourself at first and you have to be up for it. So let's shift from ready to capable and also factor in, are we ready as parents versus just is our kiddo ready? Third question will be our last one for today. Our 4-year-old son wears pull-ups at night. We'd like to transition him to regular underwear, or we were talking about this before we hit record. Maybe your kiddo just wants to wear pajama pants, no underwear at night. Maybe they just want to be, naked as they came. But anyway, they want to get rid of the pull-ups at night. And we use the words pull-ups and diapers pretty interchangeably. They're a very similar product. What is the best way to do this? Should we just decrease liquids at bedtime and then wake him between 10 and 2? And then the parent adds that the wrinkle is that at age 4, he still takes a nap at school, which means that he plays in his bed till almost 9 o'clock before he can fall asleep. So waking him at 10 would be challenging. Okay, so Bernadette, I'll kick it to you first. What's the first thing you're thinking when a family wants to do night training?
Sure. So I always think of it as we kind of go in order and just check off our list. The first thing we always recommend is eliminating fluids before bed. Not decreasing, really eliminating, starting with at least an hour before bed. And we also want to be sure of really just the fluid intake in general too for that day. We know it's summertime, a lot of extra water's going in, popsicles maybe. I know my kids are going through a watermelon about every 4 days right now. So think of all these things and, somewhere 2 hours to 1 hour before bed, we really want to, cut off all fluids. And then do at least a pee right before we get in bed. Sometimes we do a double pee, we call it, where it's like a pee at the beginning of the routine and then a pee right before we get in bed. And then, you could still leave the pull-up or diaper on and see if the child wakes dry. So that's kind of the easiest thing to do first. And that tells us, is this simply a what goes in must come out scenario? So we start with that. And then if we still have, a wet diaper in the morning, another thing I always recommend trying is just removing the diaper altogether with the decrease or with the elimination of the fluids, an hour or 2 hours before bed, and see, is the child going just because the pull-up is there? And this happens kind of often, I feel like. I mean, sometimes we just take it away. Oh my gosh, they stayed dry. Are they using it just because it's there? That's a really easy one to
And a lot of times they're using it when they wake for the day before they tell anyone that they're awake. Like, we don't know if we're getting overnight pee in that diaper or the full morning pee. One way you can try to tell is, do they need to run to the bathroom and do a full pee when they get up? A lot of my parents are saying no, they can wait for a couple of hours. I'm like, well, so it's the morning pee that's landing in that overnight diaper.
Yeah. Or I'll ask parents, I don't know how quickly you were getting to your child, but was it still warm? Right? If it was still warm, that means they just peed, which means they're essentially holding it, pretty much through the night.
Right.
And if
it's
they're
very
peeing
hard
right
to
first thing
have
in the morning,
an easy option on you and not use it, especially
and not take it, right?
And we're not even necessarily talking about the conscious brain if we're asleep. Yeah. And I know that decreasing, eliminating fluids can be really hard for some families. Again, since we do sleep, we see a lot of kids, they want a full cup or bottle of milk before bed or a full cup of water. They want to hold it. They want to sip it. That makes it really unlikely that your kiddo will stay dry overnight. If you can't just jump to eliminating it, I would suggest you just start decreasing it. Oftentimes for kids, it's about the ritual of it. I need to have this cup and I need to take a sip, but they may not, some kids care, but other kids don't care if it's 8 ounces or 1 ounce. And obviously 1 ounce is going to lead to an easier night. Sorry, I think I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I just was going to say, those are just the two, before we're waking up kids from their sleep, which usually, sleepy pees are pretty smooth. I always am let's try these 2 easier things that we do during the day in the waking hours. And see kind of what results we get from those before we jump into the wake ups.
Awesome. Amelia, how about you?
My thought, especially with this family specifically, that 10 and 2 just isn't going to work for them. And just realistically finding a time that does. And for him, it might It might be that you have to set an alarm, which sounds unpleasant at first, but it won't last forever. To, you know, maybe that you're going to set an alarm for 1 and
Right, like
just
halfway through his
1.
night.
Right. Go do 1 in the middle of the night and see if that's enough. I do often talk to parents about that active overnight training is a little bit of a like guess and check method where we have to see if we can catch an accident before it happens or if this kiddo is able to hold through the whole night. And
Yeah,
then
there's a little
just
trial and error.
adjusting. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Adjusting based
basically
on the result.
you're trying to get far enough out from the bedtime pee that the body has processed whatever's left and is ready to release urine again, but get ahead of it doing that so you're not encountering an accident, right? So definitely play with the timing if you even have to. I agree, Bernadette, do all those easy things first so you're not disrupting anyone's sleep. Also, if anyone's not familiar with this week to pee technique, try to avoid fully waking them, walking them to the bathroom, turning on the lights. Like that's going to wake them up a lot more. So you can have a potty right there by their bed or their crib or whatever it is. So it's just like a quick boop, boop. And also tell them this in advance. You don't want to shock them and waking them up in the middle of the night. So at bedtime, say, it's a long time to hold your pee. You're not wearing your pull-up diaper tonight. So you can hold it until I come get you. And when I come, you know, here's what we'll do, and then I'll tuck you back in. So that way it's like everyone kind of knows it's coming, right? Also, the wake to pee just does not work for all kids. Some kids are too sleepy to go, or our timing, you know, isn't right. And then whatever you're doing, just obviously protect the mattress and plan for the fastest change of bedding possible in case you need to do that at, say, 3 a.m. Have extra jammies on hand. Have disposable or washable, you know, mattress protectors, either under or over the sheets. You can also double up your fitted mattress protector in your fitted sheet. Do that again. So you can peel the top layer off and then the bed is ready to go underneath. You're trying to just get everyone back to sleep as quickly and quietly as possible. I would also add to this question, again, wearing my sleep hat. Obviously, I mean, this parent already knows it's not ideal that their 4-year-old can't fall asleep at bedtime till 9 p.m. They're also hip to the fact that it's because of the school nap being in place. We find that as early as 3, sometimes even earlier, we need to limit how long a nap can run, how late it can run to protect a decent bedtime, to protect a decent total of sleep overnight. So I don't have the details for this scenario. If this were a sleep family, I would find out if school/daycare could limit this kiddo's nap and wake him earlier so that he can fall asleep earlier. It is hard to know if that will play a role in his ability to stay dry overnight, but I can say, and look, I am no endocrinologist or urologist, so I'm not going to give a great explanation of this, but there is a hormone that factors into our ability to slow down urine production overnight and then hold on to any urine, you know, not release it. It's called ADH, or the antidiuretic hormone. It's also called vasopressin. From what I understand, because sleep is a delicate hormone balance, and now we know that staying dry overnight also involves hormones, when our kiddo's sleep schedule doesn't match their internal clock, which is probably the case with this 4-year-old, all of those hormones can be disrupted, which may simply amount to it's harder for him to stay dry overnight. So I would see if there's a way to get him closer to an ideal schedule. And if not, if this family tries to do night training and it's not working, you know, we were trained and mentored by someone who's very adamant that you have to remove, you know, diapers and pull-ups by 3.5 or you'll never be able to do it. And we just don't see that always be the case. Since we are also sleep protectors, sleep advocates, definitely give this a fair shot, but I would not do night training at the expense of everyone's sleep over a long enough period of time that everyone's just miserable. Like, give it a shot, put all these things in place. But if we know something is off, like a sleep schedule, and that might be preventing this from working the way it's supposed to, I would maybe table it and rely on the pull-ups longer until the sleep schedule can be addressed. Anybody have anything to add to that? Okay, awesome. All right. Well, that was really good for our first one. I do have to keep it short today because I have to go get my kiddo. But this was awesome. And thank you, everybody, for your questions. I hope the answers are helpful. We will share this. We will post it on the website, and we will take your questions any time. So you can use the form to submit one. and maybe we'll pick yours and give you an answer. Thank you, Bernadette, for your time. Thank you, Amelia. And we will all be back soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.